Yin can be so grounding and it can really help us to unravel stress and tension. So that is my hope for you. Um, Definitely my hope for all of us today with this practice. What I want to mention before we get rolling, yesterday I taught 4 classes, 2 at one studio, 2 at another studio. And even though they were completely different types of styles of yoga, I used the same theme. And I'll go ahead and share that with you because that ties into today's practice. So yesterday I was mentioning I had seen on Thich Nhat Hanh's um, post, and of course he passed away a couple months ago, but someone is still running his social media, and it showed a picture of a monk in a canoe. And I really thought it was the story that I had shared with you guys in the past based on the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. And so it was one of those things where you have to kind of flip and see the different screens. And it was a different story. So basically, it was a monk who lived in a monastery who needed some solitude and wanted some time totally alone. And he wanted to meditate off grounds. So he went to a lake and he got into a boat. He rowed to the middle of the lake and he sat and got immersed into meditation for, an hour or two. And while he was in that meditative state, another boat struck his boat and he got really angry. All of this anger started boiling up inside, and he turned to lash out at the boatman, only to realize the boat was empty. There wasn't anyone steering the boat. So the boat hadn't been docked, it hadn't been anchored, and the elementals, the water, the wind carried it, to brush into him. So he realized in that moment that it wasn't anything external that caused the anger. He realized the anger actually lived inside, and he knew that he needed to dissolve and override this anger, so to speak. So he made a commitment to himself from that point on. Any situation or any person that triggered anger inside of him, he would look at that as another empty boat. And then he would go inside to do the work. So I thought that was a great message. Um, and what I wanted to do for today's practice, because we're not going to be building up to boat pose, that requires core work and that's not so gentle. So what we're going to focus on today is just the meditational piece of it. I feel like Yin is one of the most meditative practices, even more so than say restorative, because restorative, you're lounging, you're relaxing, and you could perhaps go to sleep. Whereas with Yin, you have things stirring, you have things building, you have sensation that's really speaking up. And it requires you to stay present, it requires you to be awake. And so when we're going into these poses today, I want you to think how meditation means to ponder, to be contemplative, to be concentrated, to maintain focus. And that's what I want us to do in our postures today. We're going to begin standing upright at the top of the mat. And so once you come to stand at the top of the mat, I don't want you to bury the feet down or spread the toes or anything like that. I just want you to stand and bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. Close your eyes. And take a moment just to focus on what you're feeling under your body. The texture of the mat. Perhaps carpet or wood floor below. And because we're not rooting the feet, we're not really engaging the legs. We're basically bone stacking and allowing the skeletal system to support us. Notice when you come up through the lower body, when you arrive to your pelvis, is it tucking or tilting? And if so, can you neutralize the pelvis? Then check in with your posture, keeping your hands centered at your heart. Maybe noticing the rising and the falling of either the belly, the chest, or both. Feel the heat between the hands, the life force pouring in between. Notice its centering effect. And then create your own personal intention for today's practice that may be separate or apart from being in a meditative state. And then begin to explore your breath. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And noticing while you're here, what is the in-breath offering that the out-breath isn't? What is the out-breath offering that the in-breath isn't? We're going to place the thumbs at the hip crease, at the upper part of the thighs. We're going to begin to soften the knees and fold over. Now, as soon as your hips start to fold over your thumbs, go ahead and allow the arms to drive down, the head to roll down. Coming into dangling pose. And then discovering one thing or one object you want to focus on. Perhaps it's simply the stretch and the sensation. Perhaps it's your breath and maybe emphasizing your out breath. Perhaps you need a mantra, a word, or a phrase, or an affirmation to recite in your mind. But turn your attention towards one thing, even if it's a moment of reflection. Notice if your body takes over your focus, if you were focusing on something different beyond the physicality. It's okay if it does, just move back towards whatever you're concentrating on. Just gently guiding your awareness back over and over again. On your next in-breath, root through the feet, sweep the arms up overhead. You're going to clasp a hold of your elbows at the top. Notice which arm is more on top. Mine is the right. Yours may be the left. You don't have to switch it. Just be aware. And then curve to one side. Inhale, slowly come up. Swap hands. And then curve to the other. It's okay if the arms or the hands want to rest on top of your head. Inhale up to the top. As you exhale, bring it down again to dangling, except we're not going to stay. We're actually going to elevate the heels once the hands are in position to help us to balance, and you can bend the knees. Now, I failed to put blocks here, but blocks can be really helpful to stack the hands on, especially if you feel super wobbly today. I'm going to place my hands on the knees, and I'm going to need to look straight ahead. So for this balancing pose, your concentration should probably switch. So if it was your breath, I would maybe alter it now to your point of concentration of where you're placing your eyes. Gaze at that one sedentary spot that's unmoving and unchanging. As you wake up your feet. All right, we're going to bring the hands down. So if they are on blocks, you're going to want to bring them to the sticky mat, because now we're going to step back into plank. We're going to rock forward and lower down slowly to the belly. Now, when you come to the belly, go ahead and come down to your brow. Keep your hands up underneath the head of the shoulder bones. Lift and lengthen each leg, maybe 2 or more times. Point back through the feet, squeeze through the buttocks, and come up to a low cobra, a medium cobra, or a king cobra. So just see what's in your wheelhouse today. You want to depend more on your back than your arms. And we're going to take quite a few rounds of breath. This is probably the most active pose we're going to do today. When you're ready, walk the arms out. We're going to take the yin form of Sphinx. Already, doesn't it feel better? Separate your feet wide, kind of rock a little bit in your hips, and bow your head. When you bow your head down, feel free to angle it over towards one shoulder or another. To find any nook, groove, or crevice that may be needing more attention. That may be needing a longer hold. Notice when you find the tension in your neck, does your mouth change? Do your teeth grip? Do your lips purse? What happens with your tongue? What happens in between your eyes? Can you keep the sensory organs relaxed? The jaw relaxed. Now inhale, pick the head up. Exhale, slide your hands in, roll towards your chest, push into your palms, lift up and back, sit towards your heels. You're going to separate your knees. You're going to open your left palm, thread that arm under your right. So you have tadpole in your lower body, and you have half a shoelace arm. We are literally laid down on the outside of the left arm and the left side of the face, both the temple and the cheek. So again, be aware of where you want to put your focus. Maybe it's still the breath like you did in the first pose. Maybe it's scanning the body to make sure everything is softening. Perhaps you're being reflective on some segment in your life. Maybe it's that thought, word, or phrase rolling over in your mind. Pick something. We're going to be a little bit more active here, not a lot, but a little. Slide your right hand closer to your face, come up to the fingertips, push into the hand, roll a little bit more into your twist. Let the right elbow fly up and allow the face to slightly tilt up towards the ceiling. Similar to what we would do in thread the needle. Exhale, release. Now stack onto your hands. Slide the arms out, rock up hands and knees, curl the toes, and lift to downward facing dog. Focusing on the foundation and building up from there. Maybe noticing a little coolness at the soles of the feet. So I'll take a cleansing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Lower the knees. Big toes together, thighs separate. Left arm out, right arm drapes under and sink down to the right side of the face. This is the more yin version, more passive version. Close the eyes, tune in. Fold and melt into it. All these poses, see what surfaces, what needs to be seen and evaluated. Slide the left hand towards your face. Pick up that left elbow. Push into that left hand. Roll into a little bit more of a twist here. Exhale, release. Plant that left palm. Unthread that right arm. Roll the knees a little closer. Stack onto your hands. Curl the toes. Take downward facing dog. Coming back to this inversion, noticing the head bowing between the arms. The lengthening and the strengthening of certain muscle groups. The breath and how it's flowing. Whether or not your mind's able and capable of staying centered. All right, let's bring the left knee just behind the left hand for swan, like pigeon. So if you needed, deer pose, or if you need to flip on your back, left ankle over right knee, totally fine. Otherwise, go ahead and descend. Remember, you can use props. You can stack onto arms. And then once you find that sweet spot, or even if you find a place that stings, but you can still readily breathe, be here. And if you're not meditating on sensation, go back to your focal points. Meditation teaches us that all we ever need, we can find within. Some things we find, things that we don't need, that's not servicing us well, like the monk discovered anger. But this is why we meditate. Our body can act like a holding tank. What are you holding inside? And your next in-breath will slowly come up. Now, if you were in pigeon or deer, we're going to take the left knee in front. We're going to tuck the right knee under that. And if your knee's okay with it, you can push back and sit in between your ankles. If that doesn't work, right, extend your right leg, cross the left leg over, and then just kick that right heel in towards your hip. Now again, I don't have props here, but if you inhale, lift up, this may be enough. But if we want to be yin and fold forward, you may want that bolster kind of leaning up underneath the brow. You can stack blocks, one on top of the other, and place the head on top. So say they would probably be about here. You can also use blocks or a bolster to set forearms on. And some of you may be able to just pour over the lap. Close your eyes. I think we can all relate to that story about the monk. You know, whenever we're fully focused on maybe a task at hand, and then someone from another room is yelling at us to do something, and we're right in the middle, it's like, wait a minute, you know, or you're fully focused or meditating, and then the dog starts barking, or someone rings the doorbell. And it can be irritating, right? And you'll notice those emotions start to surface up within. So use this time to be aware of what those things are for you. Right, inhale slowly, start to back away. When you back up, we're going to take the hands behind us so that the right foot can slide forward and the left ankle can slide on top of the right knee. So you have like the fire log or double pigeon. You guys have practiced with me long enough to know if this doesn't work out for you, you can drop the top foot over. And I saw someone in the studio today immediately put a block here in that gap, and then she was trying to fold forward. And so I made the suggestion, wait on the prop, because as you inhale, you lift, and that just the lift may drop the knee somewhat, and then the block would be in the way, you see. And then if you start to fold, see, I just closed the gap. You may not close the gap. And if the gap doesn't close, or if that knee starts to feel pained at all, then that's when we take the prop under. And it may just be a blanket is all that's needed versus a thick block. So test the waters there. We're not going to be in this one as long since this is the third hip opening. Although we have been moving into different segments of the hip. Next inhale, slowly come up. Go ahead and take the left foot alongside you. And you guys don't have to turn, but I'm going to turn so I don't confuse you. So here, we're going to lift the crown. We're going to twist to the right. And then we're going to walk the hands out beside the right hip. Now, I'm going to stay in the Sphinx form. You're welcome to come lower, but you could also be here with prayer hands. Next inhale, slowly walk it in. And then when you turn back to face the front, right, you have that right shin in front of you. So if you wanted to do deer, right, just fold on over this way. If you need to flip to your back, right ankle over the left knee. And if you want to move into that swan, right, just walk or slide the left leg back and then crawl it down. Back to that mode of concentration. One item, one thing, one task at hand. Inhale, slowly start to back away. And this is where we're going to the gomuk legs or the shoelace legs. So the right knee will have to face the middle, tucking the left knee under if this operation works for you. If not, come to sit, left leg in front, right leg over. And then of course, grab props if you want to use those. And you begin to drape down. Inhale, slowly start to back away. And this is where we're going to move into double fire log or pigeon. Shin stacking, unless that right foot needs to cross over. Don't pad yet. If you need a prop, start to fold first, pad if needed, and then continue on. And it's okay if you want to focus on something different in each pose, but it's also okay to focus on the same thing each time. For instance, the breath. Inhale, slowly start to rise. Take that right leg over, and then we'll turn to the left. We'll walk it out, taking the twist. ready, inhale, slowly begin to walk it back in. So, all right. Like I said, I don't have props here like I usually do. What I did at the studio this morning with the same practice, I decided to put a slide. You guys know how to make that with 2 blocks and a bolster. And then I let them choose. We did focus a lot in the hips and lower body today. So they could either choose legs up the slide or they could, obviously recline their back onto the slide too. And if you'd rather have the normal corpse position, nothing wrong with that. It's definitely a nice go-to. You could come down to your back, and arms can really be in any position of your liking. So I'll go ahead and let you discover what you want. For the spinal piece is really one of the more powerful and potent times in our practice because we've been working into the body, we've gotten more grounded, hopefully more centered and more focused. And then we can just really drop in. Obviously, you want to stay in that mode of meditation, staying contemplative. Go ahead and relax yourself now. Om. 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 I'm hearing the humming of Om. Come back to your breath. Deepen that current. Wiggle the fingers and toes. When you're ready, exiting the pose that you chose, coming up to a formal seat, sitting attentively, eyes shut. Maybe just reflecting back on the practice, the beginning story, the intention, perhaps the technique that you chose, whether it was the breath or a mantra, sensation, or otherwise. Whether or not you came back to the same technique or if you changed it up, there's no right or wrong. But how did it serve you and where did it lead you? Were you able to return there in Shavasana? And it may have taken the entire hour to finally arrive. Please don't ever judge the meditation as being right or wrong, good or bad. At least you're trying, at least you're putting in the work, at least you're putting in the effort. And that's what matters. We're in between two eclipses. So you may be feeling it stronger this weekend. Let's close our practice by bringing the palms together. And let's chant Om together once. Take a deep breath in. Om. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.